Good evening and welcome to a special Psgl Classic Car Invitational race. And well, we are heading back in time a decade to the sound and smell of the V8 Formula 1 era. 4 classic cars from 4 different manufacturers, all World Championship winning cars. And we are about to go racing at the Bahrain International Circuit for what should be a fantastic and unique race, which is a break from the norm of the F1 2017 style leagues that we are used to. Now, the particular format of this race tonight is slightly different than you might expect. Now, the primary objective for all the drivers tonight will not be to win the race, but to actually beat the drivers who are in the same car as them. So we have 5 Renaults, 5 Ferraris, 5 McLarens, and 5 Red Bulls. So if you're in a Red Bull, for example, your primary objective will be to beat the other Red Bulls, and so on for the other 3 classes. So I will go through the full classes momentarily. So warm welcome for any of you who have joined the chat. We have a full grid for tonight, so I want to give all the people who signed up and the reserves a huge thank you for committing to this event, which I kind of came up with over the past few weeks. So hopefully it's a real enjoyment, because man, I've been looking forward to this. It's going to be absolutely brilliant, because the 4 cars are very different. I mean, the Red Bull has the best aero, but it's the slowest on a straight. The Ferrari, for example, is the quickest. And we have such a different sound to the current V6 era. So let's actually just wait for Ashbest to leave the pit lane and hear that roar as it goes out. And this really takes me back, even like decades gone, where the sound was such a huge part of the sport, and I'm sure one day it will return. But now we're going to just go through each of the classes, so I need to find someone driving a Renault first. Yep, let's see, LFC for life, let's give him some screen time, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see. So then, this is the 2006 RB26, or was it R26 rather. Now this was contested, the 2006 Formula 1 season, by Fernando Alonso and Giancarlo Fisichella, and in the 18 races together they managed 8 wins, 7 pole positions and 5 fastest laps. They won both the Constructors' Championship, and Fernando Alonso winning the second of his 2 Formula 1 World Championships. And who would have thought at the time in 2006 that that would be likely the final World Championship that Fernando Alonso would win? I mean, the way Renault ended Ferrari's dominance in 2005, 2006 was incredible, really. So all of these cars have V8 engines, and well, the sound is just absolutely brilliant already. It's again so different to what we are used to. So we're going to find someone now in the Renault, but driving the Renault 2006 tonight is Ijsimo, John Colonias 14, Flyingfrome, JPGREENWOOD, the hero of Singapore, and LFC for life. So look out for those 5. They will be competing to be the very best of the Renault 2006 class. So now let's have a look for someone in the Ferrari class. Gamefreaker's on track, so let's go on board with the F2007. The Ferrari that won Kimi Raikkonen the championship in 2007. He and his teammate Felipe Massa competed in 17 races of that season, managing 9 wins, 22 podiums, 9 pole positions and 12 fastest laps. And they won the Constructors' Championship, and Kimi Raikkonen in that dramatic final race showdown at Brazil, besting Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton and McLaren by a mere point. It was one of the most amazing title deciders you will ever see. So competing in the Ferrari 2007 class tonight is Juhohfin, Gamefreaker, who we're on board with right now, Jamie2905, Remco Vengeance making his return to the Psgl grid, and Cliffy, who won the Formula Performance race at Italy last night, so he'll be looking for some sort of repeat success. Now, we now go to a year later, the 2008 era, of course, which was where James Allen really blew his top in terms of Lewis fanboy. But what, again, another incredible season. This beautiful 2008 McLaren looking absolutely splendid in the day of Bahrain. Now normally we're used to night races in Bahrain, but back at the early days of the Bahrain International Circuit, all the races were in blistering sunshine. You know, some of the hottest ever recorded Formula 1 races took place here. second. Just got a tweet from someone. Right, enough of that. So the 2008 McLaren was driven by Lewis Hamilton and Heikki Kovalainen, and they had 18 races, 6 wins, 13 podiums, 8 pole positions, and 3 fastest laps. Lewis Hamilton winning the Drivers' Championship in an equally dramatic title decider, perhaps even more, in Brazil. Felipe Massa crossing the line, the winner of the race, but then moments later, "Is that Glock?" was the famous shout from commentary, and Lewis Hamilton won the first of his 4 World Championships. Felipe Massa, well, you know, that was the closest he ever got to winning a championship, unfortunately. So, competing in the 2008 McLaren tonight is Mr. Grumpy, Bad Boy, Joelianomanu, AMS, and Lickle Blocks. I'm going to just let the sound of these cars play out for a few more minutes, just over 7-minute session. The times are almost irrelevant at this point, and we'll go through that. We got one more class to look at, and that is indeed the Red Bull class. So let's see if we can find someone who's on the Red Bull. What about Cliffy? Yes, Cliffy is in the 2010 Red Bull, the first Red Bull to win a World Championship. And in the 2010 season, it was Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber who proved to be the dominant combination as they won their first ever Constructors' Championship. 19 races they competed in, 9 wins, 20 podiums, 15 out of 19 pole positions, 6 fastest laps, and Sebastian Vettel in yet another title decider of that particular V8 era, winning the 4-way title decider at Abu Dhabi to win the first of his 4 world titles, as Red Bull really dominated the start of the 2010s decade. Competing in the Red Bull tonight is Ashbest, WarrenHague, Cliffy, Aleskiller, and XJackLacey. So keep those on your scorecards. Now let's have a little look at what is going on currently. Now the Red Bull has the best aero, so we expect that to be the dominant class here today. But there's not much to choose between the McLaren, the Renault, and the Ferrari, so it could be tight between those. But again, it's all about winning your class. The overall race win is just a bonus, really. So let's have a look then. Very different. There's no tyre compounds with classic cars. There's just dry or wet tyres, so very simple. However, there is a mandatory pit stop that's been put in place for this race just to ensure we get a bit of strategy. So everyone has to do at least 1 pit stop during this race. So at the moment, Aleskiller is leading the Red Bull class, ahead of XJackLacey, Ashbest, and Cliffy. Let's just have a quick look at some of the other classes. So Keep Your Beast is up there in 5th position in the Ferrari, so that's pretty decent going, ahead of one of the Red Bulls in WarrenHague. And again, you know, we're so used to DRS, but this era of cars, there is no DRS at all. In this era of Formula 1, DRS was not introduced, I believe, until the 2011 season, as a consequence of what happened really at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in 2010, where no one could really pass. That was partly the reason DRS was introduced, but no DRS on any of these cars, so they'll be relying on slipstream, and of course the performance will also help, some of the cars having more powerful engines than the others. So we should still see plenty of overtaking out there. So currently in the top position for the Red Bull class is Aleskiller, and in the Ferrari class, top is at the moment is QPR Beast. Top of the McLaren class at the moment is Bad Boy, and top of the Red Bull, the Renault class, let's have a look. Top of the Renault class appears to be Flyingfrome at the moment, but we still have a fair amount of drivers who haven't set a time out there. Yeah, much narrower tyres, but you know, in terms of the profile of the cars, especially the 2007 and 2008 cars, it's not too far away from what we see today in 2018, except for the Halo, of course, which was a big addition to the 2018 season. But in terms of the profile of the cars, they're not too far off. But the McLaren, the 2008, has an outrageous amount of bodywork on the side pods. I mean, it looks like almost like a rocket with those sort of shark wings on the front of the car, you can see. And we got a spinner ahead, and that's one of the Ferraris who's lost it coming into that particular sector. And oh, one of my monitors has gone down. That's not good. So we just got over 3 minutes session to go. So 1:30, 1:16. The actual lap record is 1:31.447 in terms of this era. I'm sure real Formula 1's broken that, so I don't think those statistics are right. But yeah, I mean, this is back in the day when McLaren had a World Championship winning car. Of course, one of the big controversies of the 2008 Formula 1 season was the McLaren Spygate scandal, which meant that all of their Constructors' points were stripped, which virtually handed Ferrari a free win in the Constructors' Championship. So, I mean, Lewis Hamilton gave evidence for that. It was a real shocking turn of events, you know. And some would say that that was sort of the beginning of the downfall of McLaren to what they are today. I mean, yes, they won some races after that season, but they were never quite the same. I mean, they haven't won a Drivers' Championship since 2008, and they haven't won a Constructors' Championship since 1999. That's how long it's been for them, and for Williams even more, though no Williams classic car out here tonight. So just over 2 minutes of session to go. Aleskiller looking good at the moment for 1:30. Let's have a look at the gaps. Very close with the Red Bull drivers. I thought Cliffy would be a bit closer, but maybe he made some mistakes. As we see AMS and Gamefreaker coming over. So there's a whole go of cars. I tell you what, when we get that start, I may not speak until the first couple of corners just to hear the roar of all that horsepower coming off the start-finish line, and it's just this is just splendid. They're such beautiful cars, these. As WarrenHague moves up to 4th position, 2/10 off the top time. So Hague in the Red Bull. It is now an all top 5 Red Bull situation, but quite mixed up beyond the Red Bull class, which, you know, it will be the dominant class here. It is a 2010 car after all. But good evening to the likes of Cablo. I see Human Fish. I see Big C's just joined. Matt Tibos, Leon Bentley. Good to see you all, and the Epic Gamer as well. I'm not sure. I think that is one of the drivers. I'm not sure what his name is actually on the grids here, so I do apologise. So WarrenHague has called it a day. That's what Gamefreaker can do, is they fly through this particular section, which is turns 12 and 13, and then going onto the back straight. So a lot of talking at the start of the stream, telling you about each car, which I felt was necessary, just to give you a bit of background information on these 4 wonderful World Championship winning machines. Certainly an exciting era of the sport it was, and it's something that Formula 1 needs to capture again. You know, getting rid of DRS, I think making the cars able to get close to each other and overtake, that's going to be a key thing for the sport over the next few years. Now, let's have a look at the Red Bull class. Cliffy, is he on a flying lap? Let's have a look. Yeah, looks like he is. Let's see, because the Red Bull has a superior aero, mainly because of the double diffuser at the back of it, which was introduced in 2009 famously by the Brawn team, and then everybody had one by the time the 2010 season came around. But this is the example of how well it's able to handle a section like this compared to the other cars. I'd say a lot of the advantage the Red Bull has will be through this particular section, these sort of slow corners. It is the slowest car in a straight line, so when the Red Bull drivers make their mandatory pit stop, they really don't want to be caught behind, say, a Ferrari, because they will really struggle to pass that on a straight line. But the Red Bull is an absolute joy to drive. I mean, I was originally going to think Suzuka for this particular event, but that would have been way too dominant for the Red Bull. So switch to this track of it, and I think we'll get better racing as a result. So qualifying is finished for the top 2 Red Bull drivers, and it's just under 1.5 tenths between Aleskiller. Can Ashbest take pole position here? WarrenHague is finished for the day. Cliffy is on the back straight, so let's keep an eye on him. We'll try and get some other drivers involved. Right, is that QPR Beast I see up ahead? No, it's not. Let's go back to Cliffy. So Cliffy getting some nice tow from the Ferrari behind, and he does it. A 1:29.729 from Sebastian Cliffy. Brilliant stuff, and he is at the moment the fastest Red Bull, and Ashbest cannot answer to that. And QPR Beast, at the moment, yes, he is the fastest of the Ferrari class. And AMS getting a McLaren up into 7th. So the next Ferrari is Little Remco in 10th. So Bad Boy, no, AMS in fact, is the fastest of the McLaren class. And let's see what about the Renault class. Flyingfrome is the fastest of the Renault class. So very interesting there. It's very mixed up beyond the Red Bulls. So that's good to see. That was my intention, because I always knew the Red Bulls would be the dominant class here. So Cliffy, xJackLacey, Ashbest and WarrenHague in the Red Bull class. So look how close the times are from 6th down to 10th, and they're all different cars after all. As the 2 McLarens have a bit of fun. shades of Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton from the Turkish Grand Prix in 2010. Let's hope none of the Red Bull drivers have a Red Bull style incident, just as in that particular same Grand Prix when Webber and Vettel took each other out famously. Just one of the many dramatic moments of that particular season. So who are we waiting on? Looks like Juhohfin we're waiting on to retire in the pit lane. Yeah, good job, Hague, indeed. As you commented there, you are, you're definitely in with a fight for winning the Red Bull class. But QPR Beast will be very pleased with where he is, because he's got a couple of McLarens between him. So if he can get a good start, and the Ferrari 2007 is pretty good off the line, so who knows? No, the safety car is off, actually, Epic Gamer. So then, here's our result then. Cliffy taking the pole position for the Red Bull class, and QPR Beast in 6th overall for the Ferrari, and then in 7th overall AMS for the McLaren class, and then down in 12th, leading away in the Renault class is Flyingfrome with a very impressive time, finishing ahead of several McLarens, and further down the order we've got some Ferrari. So a very mixed up grid, the second half of the grid. So it's going to be very interesting. We do have a formation lap on, so we will get a chance to have a quick look at all the cars in their full splendour. And because it's the F1 2017 logo, I don't have to skip it. So we've got 17 watching at the moment. Again, this is new territory for me as well. And it's going to be a 50% race. It's light cloud. I decided to put the weather conditions on this for the event just to reduce the glare a bit, which is really ridiculous when you have it on full sunny conditions and at midday. So it just helps the drivers out a little bit. And the damage is also on reduced, because it is a community event at the end of the day, so we don't need it on full damage, just to give the drivers a little bit more breathing space. But turn 1, very tricky here, this particular track. 15 corners, no DRS at all, as I mentioned earlier. So we're about to go for the Psgl Classic event, and I forgot the formation lap for a moment. I'm so used to it not being on. So I am going to be quiet and turn the HUD off and just let these engines do the talking until the start finish. Well, this really takes me back to this era. I mean, the sound is just fantastic. So, a question from Human Fish: what is the performance order in theory? Well, in theory, it's in year order. Actually, the 2010 car has the best aero. The 2007 Ferrari is the best top speed. But this is on default setups, of course. So there may be slight differentials between the performances. But yeah, in theory, the 2010 is the quickest and the Renault is the slowest. Which you would expect, because each of the cars is a further year down the road in terms of Formula 1 development. But there's not much between the McLaren and Ferrari in particular, as we saw from qualifying. Right then, so the grid begins to form up, and the Red Bulls are already in position. And Christian Horner, here is a special guest. He was delighted with this car back in the day. It wasn't a dominant car in 2010. They could have snatched it at the end, really. So everybody's gathered. we go then. 5 red lights for the Psgl Classic race. And it's go, 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 as Murray Walker would say. And the 20 cars were off. Oh, there's a McLaren spinning in the background. And already we've got a McLaren and his Lickelblocks, who has had a massive moment. Remember, these cars you would usually have traction control, except for 2008 onwards, so they're going to be a bit tricky to handle. As Aleskiller and Cliffy and JackLacey fight for supremacy in the Red Bull class early on, as they scream down to turn 4. And a big shame for Lickel, but plenty of time to go in this race. And we got yellows in sector 1. I think there's been a bit of contact behind. As they come down to the hairpin at turn 8. QPRB, you know, he's not being embarrassed in this Red Bull class so far. I mean, the classic race so far. As Ashbest, oh, and he gets it slowed down into the very tricky 9th and 10. But WarrenHague is right behind him. A bit of weaving from WarrenHague to try and get a bit of space, but couldn't quite get the job done. So at the moment, Aleskiller leading the Red Bull class, and QPRB leading the Ferrari class, with AMS leading the McLaren class, and Flyingfrome still leading the Renault class. Look how close it is between the 3 Red Bull drivers, and I think Cliffy, you know, looks like Alice is trying to break the slipstream of the Red Bulls behind. We could see several 3 wide situations here as we complete the first of 29 laps. And Alice is going to have to go really defensive immediately. When he brakes late, goes onto the outside. Can he get the traction down? Goes over the corner. It's a 5-second stop go penalty for Lickelblocks as he rushed back to the pits. And Cliffy makes a bit of a pig's ear of turn 3. Now he's under threat from JackLacey. Now let's have a quick look at QPRB. He's still in 6th. So he's not under threat from anyone. But look, it looks like Remco is beginning to make his way up to the back of AMS. So he's up to 2nd in the Ferrari class, with Gamefreaker in 3rd. And Joelianomanu is running in 2nd in the McLaren class at the moment. And Bad Boy struggling a little bit in the McLaren so far. Let's go back to the front then. Lickelblocks comes out after a wing change. The 5 Red Bulls beginning to scamper away from the rest as we expected, but Cliffy is right on the back of Ales again. Ales will have to go defensive. And Cliffy is going to try and use that aero of that Red Bull to fly around the outside, but it can't quite get it done. And JackLacey is also right there as well. Yeah, I agree with you, Fish, that these cars, if they could get simplify the front wings, it would be brilliant for next season. Look how close these Red Bulls are. This could go all the way to the end of the race. Remember, everyone's got to do a mandatory pit stop, but with the tyre deck, I think they would have to anyway, but it's just to, you know, make sure there is a bit of strategy in this race, because there's only one compound in the game, which is dry, and the fast lap tumbling. We're going to stay on board JackLacey. We get a perfect view of the 2 Red Bulls up ahead. It's shades of Webber and Vettel from 2010. As Alice defends brilliantly once again. Let's have a... Oh no, I'm going to stick with this fellow actually, because they're going side by side into turn 4 once again. And Cliffy is edging ahead. Who's going to have the better traction as they head into turns 5, 6 and 7? They're going side by side. The Red Bull area should be able to cope with this just fine, but who's going to have the inside for the hairpin? And I think it's going to be Cliffy. And diving down the inside is JackLacey. So Cliffy takes the lead of the Red Bull class, and Alex is now under threat from JackLacey, with Ashbest just behind. I'm going to have a look down the order shortly just to see what is going on with the other classes, because I don't want to just focus on the Red Bull class for the entire race. I want to see some other battles as well of these other cars, because they all sound very different. Let's do that now. So let's have a quick look down the order. Look at Mr. Grumpy, who's under threat from a Renault of John. And I think Mr. Grumpy just got past him actually. So Grumpy, he's running currently in 4th in the McLaren class. So not on the podium in the class at the moment. Incidentally, there will be some interviews after the race with the class winners. And what is going on here? LFC and JPGREENWOOD. Oh, and LFC is run miles wide. And JP gets a time penalty. Jamie running last in the Ferrari class at the moment, and Lickel running last in McLaren. Unfortunately, because of that, Got a nice sort of British helmet there, so quite like that. Sort of Jensen Button style. Even though he didn't join the McLaren team for another 2 years. So back to the Red Bull class. Cliffy edging away slightly from Aleskiller, with JackLacey in third and Ashbest in fourth in the class. And WarrenHague just sort of keeping a watching brief. It's not a bad place to be really, because if there's any incidents between the Red Bulls ahead, he may be able to gain places. He's still in this. He's showing good race pace to keep up with these four. Don't forget, JackLacey, Ashbest and Cliffy are all Psgl F1 drivers, and WarrenHague's in F4. So WarrenHague doing very well to keep up with these guys at the moment. And to be fair, QBR Beast is showing brilliant pace in that Ferrari. He is by far the best Ferrari driver at the moment. He's only 1.5 seconds behind the last Red Bull. So, don't write him out for the overall race win, even though he is in an inferior car in question. Any other battles going on here? Just want to see if there's anything else going on. Oh, it looks like Jamie is on the back, so we're going to get a Ferrari versus Renault battle. I think we'll feature Ferrari and Renault, fierce rivals in 2005 and 2006, especially 2006. Not so much in 2007 when Renault... Oh, and JP has slid off, and he's been overtaken by Jamie, so the hero of the recent Psgl races has unfortunately had a bit of a moment. As we go back to the front, the Red Bull still nose to tail. Fantastic action at the front of this Psgl Classic Invitational. Which this isn't going to be a regular league, but I think doing this now and again just for fun. And I think these drivers really looking like they're enjoying driving these classic cars, just as a break from the norm. And they are really throwing themselves into the action. So let's see. There's it's kind of a stalemate between the Red Bulls at the moment. I think they're waiting for mistakes. But JackLacey is looking really racy, and Alice has nearly dropped. Yeah, he's dropped over a second, so the slipstream effect is going to be less for Alice this time. So this may give JackLacey, if he can get a good exit out of turn 9, an opportunity to move up to second in the Red Bull class. Is he getting any sort of tow? Yeah, he's getting a little. I still think Alice is getting a bit of a tow from the Red Bull ahead. Remember, no DRS in this particular round. So let's have a look at Flyingfrome. It's just past the McLaren of Bad Boy. So I mentioned Bad Boy was struggling quite a bit early on. He was pretty good in qualifying. But in terms of the places gained, let's have a look. Who's been a real winner? So Remco, Gamefreaker and Joelianomanu have gained plenty of places. Liquid Blocks, the big loser of course. The top 7, as you were. And even though it's a classic race, it wouldn't be a Psgl race without Flyingfrome picking up a penalty. But he's running very nicely in 11th at the moment. He is the lead Renault class car, so he's looking good at the moment. His nearest challenger in the Renault class is John. Okay, nice, but quite a way back. Well, probably about 5 or 6 seconds behind. But penalties could bring it back. Any other battles going on at the moment? Well, it's mainly the Red Bull class at the moment. So let's go back. Ales is more the hunted than the hunter at the moment, with those two Psgl F1 drivers behind him. JackLacey, he did have that half chance when Cliffy overtook a few laps ago. We're only on lap 6. Of course, this race may take slightly longer to complete, but I think putting it on the clear weather was light cloud weather was definitely a good decision. We can see the cars, but there's not too much glare, because if you've done a time trial lap here in clear, it's absolutely ridiculous. So Ashbest looking to get past one of these Red Bulls, and they're beginning to lead WarrenHague. WarrenHague beginning to fall back. He did so well to keep up with them, but it is the pure race pace of the Psgl F1 drivers is beginning to tell WarrenHague, but he's still running 5th overall. Now let's have a look down the order. Any battles at the moment? What about Bad Boy? The closest battle does appear to be JackLacey. So let's have a look. JackLacey, can he get close to the back of Ales? Locks the tyres, but gets it slowed down. Ashbest, you can just tell he's a bit like a cat at the moment. He's waiting for a mistake from one of the two drivers ahead, especially JackLacey, and then to put the move on JackLacey to move up to 3rd in the Red Bull class. He is not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. So, class leaders at the moment, Red Bull, Cliffy. QPR Beast is the lead Ferrari class and AMS the lead McLaren, and Flyingfrome is the Renault class leader at the moment. Yeah, the Renault class is sort of the closest. The rest of them are a bit more spread out, but again, this is a sort of work in progress concept, so we will refine it, of course, in future. We've had some great action with the Red Bulls so far, and some good, decent midfield scraps. And Liquor Blocks is out of the race, so that's our first retirement from the Invitational, and where he has crashed on the home straight. Was he trying to enter the pit lane, or was it just out of pure frustration? So Lickle has had a week to forget in Psgl, it has to be said. Ales getting a poor exit out of turn 13. He's under real threat now from JackLacey. Well, JackLacey thinking for a move. Oh, and he hits the back of him, but the reduced damage saving him there. Might have been a bit of chip wing, but Ales is going defensive. Oh my goodness, for a second I thought they were going to crash into that, because I don't think that McLaren was ghosting, to be honest. So JackLacey looking for a move to move up to second in the Red Bull class. He brakes slightly late to try and get the switch back, but Ales, good defending again. Oh dear, Licker was looking at his phone. Well, you don't want to be like Santino Ferrucci in F2, had a phone in his pocket while racing. So, and JackLacey dives down the inside at turn 4, looking to move up in the Red Bull class. But once again, Ales getting good traction down and staying ahead. But this has allowed Ashbest to get really close. Is he going to look for a dive into the hairpin? And he does. He goes for it. Oh, that is a huge dive, and he's just slammed in the back of Ales. Oh dear, that was ambitious. He's had to give the place back, but that was a huge dive, and it didn't work. It did not work, but that's allowed JackLacey to move up to second. Not his fault, of course. They both got hit. But no damage, fortunately, by the looks of it. And that's actually allowed, all that scrapping to allow WarrenHague to actually close back to within a second of them again. So that was a dramatic moment in the Red Bull class. JackLacey now up to second, but all of that's allowed Cliffy to take a 2-second advantage in the Red Bull class. Keep Your Beast is just sort of in a race of his own at the moment. In the Ferrari class, let's just see him for a few moments. He did a brilliant qualifying job. Getting ahead of, you know, not only the Ferraris but other people classes, that really gives you the box seat. So who is running second in the Ferrari class? It is Remco, but he's actually being caught by Gamefreaker, and Joelianomanu McLaren is being caught by Flyingfrome, who's having a really impressive race in that Renault. He's really getting the best out of that car so far. But meanwhile, we'll just have to go back to Ashbest, because he's right alongside Ales in the Red Bull class. How furiously they've been battling. I mean, Ashbest, to be fair to him, did give the place back after hitting him. And now Ashbest will go for a move down the inside again. Ales has been really good at getting the traction down on the outside, but look how close WarrenHague is now. As they fly through this 5, 6 and 7 section. WarrenHague, will he go for a move down the inside? No, he will not. That would be unwise. It's getting very close behind between Gamefreaker, Joelianomanu and Flyingfrome. It looks like Joel's made a mistake somewhere, because he's dropped down behind Remco. So let's stick with these guys for a little bit. Nice little 4-way scrap. We've got 2 McLarens, 1 Ferrari, and the Renault from 2006. The car that Fernando Alonso won his second World Championship as. Gamefreaker picks up a penalty. But I think Flyingfrome, if he can win the Renault class and actually get into the top 10, that would be an outstanding effort from the Formula 3 driver. Bad boy looks to sort of recover a bit of lost momentum. I think he just sort of didn't go out for him early on in the race. Let's have a look at Gamefreaker, because the straight line speed supposedly on default is superior to the McLaren, and he's getting very close to Joelianomanu. As we see that the blue sparks of fire coming out the back of that McLaren Mercedes engine. How McLaren would wish they had a Mercedes engine in the back of the car these days. But Gamefreaker switches back to the left. How close was that to an accident? But these two are very experienced not to steal a catchphrase from a certain Iran driver. Joelianomanu maintains the position for the time being. It looks like JackLacey is now 1.5 seconds ahead. So Ashbest sort of being, Ales is sort of being a bit of a blocker for Ashbest and WarrenHague at the moment. But remember, everyone has to do a mandatory pit stop in this particular race at some point. It'd be interesting to see what the tyre wear is like at this point. Looks like LFC and Jamie having a nice battle, so I will try and have a look at them at some point. As we are on lap 10 now of these 29 laps, through turn 9 up to where the second DRS zone normally would be. Gamefreaker getting alongside Joelianomanu. These two former, well, one of them a former F1 driver. They know each other very well. And this glorious camera angle as they sweep up into turn 12 and the end of sector 2 into turn 13. It's a tricky braking zone sometimes. Go a bit too wide. Oh, as Gamefreaker just did, you can lose a lot of momentum. Remco slowly getting away. Let's turn the telemetry on so we can get an idea of the straight line speed of this Ferrari compared to the McLaren. Oh, and Gamefreaker got his braking all wrong. But it looks like Joelianomanu's running lower wings because Gamefreaker was unable to out-drag the Ferrari in a straight line, and I wonder if he damaged his wing. Flyingfrome then, challenging the Ferrari of Gamefreaker, and Flyingfrome dives down the inside in the Renault. Watch out for Bad Boy just behind. We're going to just leave it on this brilliant helicopter view as they sweep through these corners. One of my favourite camera views because you not only do you see the action, you see in the background of the top screen the other cars zooming off in the distance. It's fantastic. One of my favourite camera views in the game. But Gamefreaker maintains 9th position overall and 3rd place in the Ferrari class. Flyingfrome by far still the lead car in the Renault class. And has QPR Beast done a pit stop? Yes, QPR Beast, I didn't notice, down to 13th. So he has done the first mandatory pit stop of the race. And down the inside goes Bad Boy, back up to 10th place, demoting Flyingfrome back down to 11th. So QPR Beast is definitely one to look out for. He's going to have fresh tyres. Now, how long the tyres last for, we really have no idea. I mean, Bahrain is traditionally a high degradation circuit, so even though I put a mandatory pit stop on this event, I was sure there was going to be at least one anyway. And Ashbest has actually got past Aleskiller at last to move up to 3rd in the class. But the pit stops could still play a factor because traffic will be a factor. Some of these Red Bulls, they could get stuck behind faster cars in a straight line and they could find it really hard. And that could, you know, give the race back to another driver in the Red Bull class. So let's have a look at Remco because he is now under pressure from Joelianomanu. Ferrari versus McLaren. These two both 2nd in their class at the moment, with Gamefreaker 3rd in the McLaren class and Bad Boy 3rd in his. And Ijsimo is closing onto the back of Juhohfin, down in 15th. Juhohfin in the Ferrari and Ijsimo in the Renault. Now what can Joelianomanu do against little Remco? Remco, a former Psgl F1 champion. No other pit stops at the moment. It's only one compound in the classic races. Oh, there's yellows in sector 2. And a pit stop for JackLacey then. So JackLacey will pit as we get the generic pit crew. Bunch of Stigs serving the tyres, but where will JackLacey come out? That's going to be intriguing. Will he get ahead of the McLaren VMS? I don't think he will, you know. No, he will not. So he'll be behind at least one fast car, but he won't be behind Remco. Or will he? Here we go, Remco. No, the Red Bull gets up to speed. And oh, how lucky was that? Look at that huge group of cars that JackLacey nearly ended up behind. If he'd been a bit slow of his in-lap, he would have been in a nightmare situation in the Red Bull class. But for the time being, but Aleskiller and WarrenHague, they're a bit vulnerable to this group if they pit before. As Ijsimo pits from 16th position. Let's have a quick look at Ijsimo in the Renault. And he's already gone. And he's in 16th. And he will come out ahead of LFC and JPGREENWOOD. So the Renault, apart from Frome, the Renault class, you know, most of them are at the back overall at the moment. The yellows in sector 2. So QPR Beast is closing in onto the back of Mr. Grumpy. He's still looking good at the moment for the class victory in the Ferrari. We got a second retirement, and it's Jamie 2905, and he has called it a day. Where is that? That looks like, oh, that's at turn 1. So he's had a massive incident somewhere. So that's one Ferrari and one McLaren out of the Classic Invitational for Psgl. As Cliffy and Aleskiller pits. Now it's XJackLacey being able to get the undercut on those two Red Bulls, especially Cliffy. There's one. Cliffy is out. XJackLacey in second. Where's... oh, and Aleskiller! Aleskiller is going to end up behind one of the Ferraris. I did say he was going to be in a bit of trouble. So now he's going to have to get past the Ferrari, which is the fastest car on default settings at least in this classic event in a straight line. So Aleskiller is going to have a bit of a task to get past Remco. If Remco doesn't pit for a few laps. But on the other hand, he does have fresh tyres. In this particular section here, he'll have a big advantage. The aero of the Red Bull will really be prevalent here. Let's see this then. The Red Bull up against the 2007 Ferrari. 3 years of Formula 1 development between them. And oh, this is going to cost him so much time. Now can the Red Bull? Look how quick the Ferrari is. It's able to keep ahead of the Red Bull, and now he's losing even more time through this heavy braking zone. But Remco goes wide, and now can this appear? Oh, and Remco gives a tap. What a kiss by the Ferrari to the Red Bull. And I think the Red Bull will be seeing red over that as he tries to get back past. Remco going defensive. Oh, very late defensive, but there is a slight gap to the inside. Oh, sorry, that was an ill-informed switch, but we still see it. And Aleskiller will move up then. And he will be, but he is now at the back of the Red Bull class, although WarrenHague has not pitted yet. Now what about QPR Beast? He's in the Ferrari class at the moment, but Grumpy will pit. So he went, and then we got a whole outcast. Now actually, I don't know how the classic cars work. I mean, would they double stack? I'm not really sure how that works. Or do they get different pit stops? I have no idea, to be honest. No, it didn't look like anyone double stacked. So QPRB set maintains the lead of the Ferrari class with AMS in second, although he's got John right next to him. Oh, and that's big contact. John has not pitted yet. Neither has Juhohfin. The top two haven't pitted either, and that's Ashbest and WarrenHague. So clean air for the top two. Then try and maybe go a bit deeper into the race and get going. So Juhohfin running in ninth at the moment, but he hasn't pitted. No, neither has John. So they're going to have cars on fresh tyres coming after them. Remco's actually ended up behind Gamefreaker, so must have been held up in the pit stop somewhere. Flyingfrome, not the lead car in the Renault at the moment, but obviously the pit stops at the moment. So maybe just think LFC, Ijsimo, Greenwood. Ashbest gets a 5-second stop-go penalty, which will be added on at the end of the race. So his chances of being the winner of the Red Bull class may have just gone up in smoke. Where's Ashbest going to end up? He's going to be behind Cliffy at least, but will he be behind XJackLacey? That's the more crucial question. Where is Ashbest? Ashbest comes out. Will he be ahead of Aleskiller as well? Yes, he will. So Ashbest comes out in fourth in the Red Bull class, but now has that 5-second time penalty. Oh dear. Terrible luck. Or maybe a terrible mistake, I should say. Epic Gaming, no, do not leave the session, please. Not until the end of the race. We need the slipstream to be maintained. So do not leave. Please do not leave. So WarrenHague leads the race overall in the Red Bull class, but hasn't pitted yet. So Cliffy is your net Red Bull class leader. QPR Beast is the class leader for Ferrari. AMS the class leader for McLaren. And Flyingfrome, still your class leader for Renault. And he's right in the mix with these Ferraris. So we should see some brilliant racing coming up between this lot. LFC running in second in the Renault class, John in third, Ijsimo in fourth, and Greenwood in fifth, who's a long way behind, so he must have got some wing damage when he went off early on. As WarrenHague finally pits then for Red Bull. So Cliffy really putting the pace down at the moment, and he's looking really good to winning this Red Bull class in this Psgl Classic. And now look at this for a move from LFC, trying to get down the inside again of his fellow F4 driver, Mr. Grumpy. Mr. Grumpy on the fresh tyres, taking advantage of the Grumpy, running in a disappointing 14th overall at the moment. And he is last on track of the McLaren class, so I think he would have been hoping for a bit more, but he's not getting it so far. And then we got John passing LFC in the Renault class as well. Got yellows in Sector 1. So what is going on here? Doesn't look like anyone's losing places, so it must be maybe for a recently retired car. LFC then will finally pit. You can see all the marks on his tyres, actually, these groove tyres. So he's taking these tyres a long way. He'll have fresh rubber, but in terms of the track position, he's not really going to be anywhere. He's going to be last on track and last in the Renault class on track at the moment. And JPGREENWOOD, actually, that's what happened. He retired, so that's our third retirement. XJackLacey is close within 1.5 seconds of Cliffy. So maybe the fight for the Red Bull victory is not over. And Ashbest will have something to say about that, but he's got to make up a lot of time. But WarrenHague running overall 5th. He'll be pretty pleased with his effort. I think it's going to be a tall order for him to win the Red Bull class now, but he's had a fine effort, the F4 driver. So Cliffy leading the Red Bull class. QPR Beast leading the Ferrari class at the moment, overall 6th. Let's go back to Remco, who looks to be very close indeed to Joelianomanu. Two former Psgl F1 drivers, and behind them is a small group, Gamefreaker, Flyingfrome and Bad Boy. So I think this is where we're going to see a lot of action coming up. Well, JPGREENWOOD prefers the 2017 cars, it seems, but hopefully better luck next time we do an event like this on F1 2018. So little Remco is closing in. LFC for life. It's another Renault out of the race. So can Remco go for a move down the inside? Tries to get the switch back. Let's stick with that, but there is a scrap going on between Flyingfrome and Bad Boy behind. Can Remco put this round the outside? Can't at the moment. And side by side is Frome and Bad Boy. This is a brilliant little scrap here. Yes, as Lewis mentioned in the chat, I was definitely thinking about bringing in the Brawn, maybe to replace the Red Bull if we did the same selection cars, because that would move them a little bit closer. Flyingfrome trying everything he can to get past this McLaren. He's having a great time out there in the R6. Oh, and Remco has lost the back end out of nowhere. Oh, and is that a puncher? Oh, I don't know. Well, he's lost the back end. Remco, all that good work. Perhaps in the dirty air maybe, or something, if that's a thing in classic cars, I don't know. But yeah, Remco, big accident, and that as well, that's his chances of winning the Ferrari class gone. The Gamefreaker has been trying to get past Joelianomanu for most of the race, but he's got the inside this time. Can he finally get the move done on the McLaren? Oh, they touch heavily. Joelianomanu will come back, the superior aero helping him out there. Ferrari can use the straight line speed, but watch out for Bad Boy right behind. The Ferrari stuck in a McLaren Mercedes sandwich right now. And meanwhile, XJackLacey is close within 1.3 seconds of Cliffy. So we'll have to look back at the Red Bull class at some point. Gamefreaker dives back to the inside, and Bad Boy will try and pass Joelianomanu as well, and he does. So Joelianomanu loses 2 places in 1 corner. Look how furious. And QPR Beast is out of the race. The lead Ferrari class is out of the race, and he has lost it. Oh, what happened to him? He's lost it just before the end of Sector 2. So it's a change of lead in the Ferrari class. Gamefreaker is leading the Ferrari class. goodness me. QBRB's had it all under control, and suddenly it's all over for him. Like I was going to say Kimi Räikkönen, but he won the title in 2007. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, same place as Remco finished. Well, similar area anyway. I think Remco did it earlier, whereas QBRB did it just before the end of Sector 2. And so two McLarens get squeezed up against the wall. Bad Boy trying to get ahead to move up to second in the McLaren class. But they fight furiously again. I tell you what, this little group of cars has given us the best action today. They've really enjoyed themselves out there. But yeah, commiserations to Louis. He had a brilliant performance in that 2007 Ferrari until that moment. So lap 20 of this Psgl Classic Invitational, and they're still going for it. And running wide, Joelianomanu is gonna be compromised slightly in the grip. Bad Boy gets the switchback. Can he get close enough? Maybe for a lunge down into turn 9. No, not quite close enough to attempt to move like that. XJackLacey is now in a second in the fight for the Red Bull class. So may have a look at that shortly. Joelianomanu getting the slipstream ahead of the Ferrari. Surprised Bad Boy didn't have more of a look there. Wasn't quite close enough, I think, to go down. So we've had 6 retirements now. 14 running of the 20 who started. Just want to give everyone a big thank you who's been watching this. If you've enjoyed this race, I certainly have, then leave a like. I really appreciate that. So Bad Boy then moves up to second place in the McLaren class with a great move down the inside just before the end of the lap. And now, can he make it 2 for the price of 1 against the Ferrari class leader of Gamefreaker? We'll turn the HUD off for a second so I can get the best view. Bad Boy, and it's a lock-up with the tyres of Gamefreaker, and he runs wide. Where is he? There he is. And it's a great switchback from Bad Boy. He had a strange to the start of the race where he was really off the pace, but now he's really come back strong in the second stint of the race. It does look like it's going to be a one-stop race. And Joelianomanu has dived down the inside of Gamefreaker as well, but Gamefreaker will try and come back at him. Not sure if Gamefreaker realises he's the lead Ferrari. But look at, that's allowed Bad Boy to get away. And Frome is right there, and Gamefreaker with a really ill-advised braking manoeuvre, and that's dropped him behind Flyingfrome. Flyingfrome has to be a contender for driver of the day. He's running in 9th overall in the slowest car in this Classic Invitational. So he's putting on a stonking performance. By far the best Renault driver here today. So Cliffy is now half a second between the top 2 in the Red Bull class. So we will have a quick look at them shortly. I just want to enjoy a few more moments with this brilliant group of cars who really put on a show for us the last few laps. Can Frome gain even more places? He must have 1-1 setup, because that Renault seems like it's got a V10 in the back, not a V8. That's how quickly it's going. Yeah, not the best traction. Joelianomanu doing a pretty decent job, to be fair to him. And WarrenHague pits. WarrenHague pits then. So WarrenHague's made a late pit stop. Oh, the Red Bull's punishing their tyres more. It's an interesting moment. I guess WarrenHague had, well, he's going to be 5th in the Red Bull class, so maybe he's thinking there might be some late punches or something like that. Interesting manoeuvre. Just going to have a quick look at Juhohfin, because he's closing onto the back of Ijsimo. Ferrari versus Renault. We will certainly have a look at the Red Bull battle, because that is about to hot up, I believe. So Juhohfin closing in. Lap 22 then of this Psgl Classic Invitational. We've got 14 of the 20 who started. It's been an entertaining race so far. Not quite close enough yet. Let's go back to Frome. Frome is right on the back of Joelianomanu, really pushing the Renault above its weight today. And he's got the inside. He's got a slight chance. Can he get the brakes done and dive down the inside of Joelianomanu? He's got the inside, but the McLaren Superior Hero will be an advantage as they fly up towards the end of Sector 2. But we are going to have to switch to the front, because now XJackLacey is within firing range. And just as I switch to him, he does a dive to the inside. Can XJackLacey get it slowed down? No, Cliffy gets back in front. So the Red Bull warfare is on for the final part of the race. And Ashbest is right there as well, but don't forget he's got that 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which will be added on at the end. But it's a three-way battle for victory in the Red Bull class and overall race victory here tonight. I have to say that was a brilliant switch to them, wasn't it? Right as he went for the overtake. So Cliffy has had really good pace all race, but you know, he's just being clawed back in by JackLacey and Ashbest. Cliffy trying to fend off two former Psgl champions, well, the reigning Psgl F1 champion and the season 18 Psgl F1 champion. Or 17 was it? I forget sometimes, so many seasons, but Cliffy now having to go heavily defensive against JackLacey. And I have to say their tyres look really worn, don't they? I wonder if we will see any late pit stops or punches or something. So, you know, WarrenHague, maybe he's onto something. We shall see. But those tyres are really worn. Look how close JackLacey's getting now, and Ashbest is right behind him. We haven't seen the Red Bull class for quite a few laps, but it's really come alive now. Aleskiller, you know, was in the fight early on, but he's really not been able to keep up with the pace. These three have really put the hammer down the final lap. JackLacey trying to go around the outside of Cliffy, and he's got it done. What a move by JackLacey, but Cliffy will come back at him into the hairpin. But watch out for Ashbest, who's right there. Ashbest will look for a move down the inside of Cliffy. They go side by side, so JackLacey has finally taken the lead of the Red Bull class and overall race at the moment. So Ashbest realistically will have to pass both and get a 5-second gap, but that realistically is not going to happen. But brilliant racing from these three. Oh, I mean, I've seen loads of brilliant races across Psgl this season, but this, I have to say, it's been one of my favourites to cover. Just something so different. And I'm not going to move away from these three because they are going to give us a grandstand finish. I mean, just having a look, and oh, there's that is Ijsimo in the Renault getting out of the way. Ooh, it looked like Ijsimo was missing like his wing. I'm guessing that was Ijsimo. But Flyingfrome is moving up to 8th position rather, fighting with Joelianomanu. Ijsimo has decided to call it a day. So the Renaults have really struggled. Is that all the? I think that's all the. No, there is still another Renault running in the race. That's John. So Flyingfrome can't relax just yet. He still has to finish the race to be the Renault class winner. But these three Red Bulls really going at it now. JackLacey, he knows this battle isn't over yet. And of course 2006 was a few years before Flavio Briatore got banned from the sport, but he'll be pretty furious that he's seen 3 of his cars, you know, mothballed, so to speak. That'll be a fairly hefty bill to get those repaired for the next Psgl Classic Invitational, whenever that may be. But all of these cars returning in the next game. Not to sound like a commercial for Codemasters, but that is a fact. So Cliffy is still within a second of JackLacey. Will we get any more battling? But JackLacey was the kind of move that could be race defining. Let's see then, Cliffy, can he close in onto the back of JackLacey? What about Ashbest? Ashbest sort of biding his time. How bad is their tyre wear at this point? WarrenHague, was it sort of those nothing to lose sort of decisions, just that, well, I'm 5th, I might as well come in and see what happens, see what the pace is like. Hasn't really taken full advantage. Incidentally, let's have a look at the fastest laps of the race from each class. Ashbest the fastest in the Red Bull class, Flyingfrome, I think obviously the fastest in the... Actually no, John is faster in the Renault class, so fair play to John for keeping going. He's set the fast lap in the Renault class. Fastest Mclaren class, let's see, is that AMS? Or is it... It looks like Bad Boy is. Just trying to figure it. Yeah, Bad Boy looks like he is the fastest in the McLaren class, and the fastest in the Ferrari class. I would imagine would have been QPRBs. Yes, by far, but obviously he's retired. So very interesting times, and it's well, a minute and 13 between the remaining 13 runners, so not too spread out, which is good to see. Just going to take a break from this battle for a minute just to see what's going on with Gamefreaker, because he's very close indeed to Flyingfrome. Keeps into switching back just as they go for a move. But Flyingfrome running in 8th in the slowest car. Outstanding effort, as I mentioned earlier. But Gamefreaker on course to win the Ferrari class. His nearest competitor is Juhohfin. It's way down. Oh, and Gamefreaker. Oh, it's a massive incident. What is with the Ferraris having these huge incidents? Well, my goodness. Well, that was scary. That was scary indeed. Does that give Juhohfin half a chance of winning the Ferrari class, I wonder? Did Gamefreaker damage his wing? He loses another place to John. And Juho is right there. So the Ferrari class battle may be back on. But I need to switch back to the Red Bull class because Cliffy is under pressure from Ashbest in a massive way. Well, Gamefreaker, that was a huge accident. I thought he was about to flip the car out the stands at that point, such was the speed he was taking. I'm not sure what happened. I think he just sort of made slight contact with someone or something like that. I think I have to have a look back and see what happened. But 3 laps to go. Well, 2.5 laps to go then of this Psgl Classic. The Red Bull class took a while to get going, but we've seen some great racing from some of the drivers tonight. But JackLacey is easing out to win the Red Bull class and the overall race victory here today. As I mentioned, there will be podium interviews between all the class winners, and we still have at least one driver from each class in the running. And Gamefreaker pits, which means Juhohfin is your Ferrari class leader with just under 3 laps to go. Oh, Gamefreaker had it in the palm of his hand. To be fair, QPR had it in the palm of his hand. So it's been a real day for Bosling down at Ferrari. Maranello will have a big repair job on. The Gamefreaker has surely thrown away the Ferrari class win, handing it to Juhohfin as the fastest F2007 driver, at least in terms of finishing. But JackLacey is edging towards victory in the overall picture. Ashbest, that pit stop penalty may have acted as quite a demotivator for him. But he's still going to try and get ahead of Cliffy on track. These two had some great battles in Psgl F1 last season, and indeed this season as well, particularly 2 races at Japan. But here at Bahrain, underneath the decent sunny conditions, they are going to battle again, this time in a totally different car from 2010. Oh, Ashbest gets a snap of oversteer, and that's going to slow him down just a little bit. Can he get closer? Flyingfrome still under pressure. Joelianomanu. AMS having quite a quiet race, and he's being closed down rapidly by WarrenHague, but AMS 5th overall in the Mclaren and able to finish ahead of one of the Red Bulls. That would be an outstanding result for AMS, and he would be the McLaren class winner as well. So Ashbest, he's got maybe one more opportunity to get past Cliffy. Is he going to try and look for a switchback? Yes, that's exactly what he's trying to do, trying to get the best possible traction, and he wrenches the wheel. Cliffy will have to go defensive straight away. The former title rivals from season 19 of Psgl F1 going so close to the wall. Cliffy could almost put out his hand and touch the pit wall. That's how close he was. Ashbest will look for a dive around the outside. Can he take 2nd overall in the Red Bull class? And Ashbest picks up another penalty. Oh dear. He gets past on track, and well, even if that 5 seconds is not added, I think Cliffy will finish ahead, and Cliffy will dive back at him. Oh, that's a bit of a launch down the inside, but yeah, this is, you know, a bit of fun with reduced damage, no harm done. Will Cliffy come back at him down the inside? He will try, and he's got a 3-second time penalty now as well, actually. So maybe Ashbest will finish 2nd overall if the game doesn't have that 5-second penalty. And Joelianomanu picks up a 10-second time penalty as Cliffy dives down the inside of Ashbest with an absolutely fantastic move into turn 9. But Ashbest will certainly try and come back at him. And JackLacey is not far away now from winning the overall race victory and the Red Bull class. But look how close these two drivers are. Ashbest, he's got maybe one more opportunity. He's trying to put it round the outside. And second 2, Ashbest will be forced off, but they're still side by side. Oh, they bang wheels. I have to switch back to JackLacey to see him cross the line. But I just want to see, oh, they go in the inside. JackLacey then will cross the line and win the Classic Invitational and take the Red Bull class victory. And look how close the other two Red Bulls are. Cliffy takes second, Ashbest takes third in the Red Bull class, and LS will take fourth. Gamefreaker finishes in 12th in the end, overall, second in the class. So let's go on board then with the McLaren class winner, assuming he doesn't bin it, AMS. It's being closed rapidly by the Red Bull behind. Yeah, some brilliant battles from the Red Bull drivers early on, but AMS then has had a solid race here today, the Psgl F1 driver, and he will win the McLaren class here tonight. Fantastic drive from him, and WarrenHague will cross the line in 6th overall, but decent effort from WarrenHague, and Bad Boy will get 2nd place in the McLaren class. And now we switch to our next class winner, Flyingfrome. What I have to say, he is driver of the day for me. With that, the most inferior car, and putting it up 8th in the top 10. Absolutely brilliant drive from Flyingfrome as he wins. Oh, 9th actually. Oh yeah, penalties. I forgot about that. So Flyingfrome wins the Ferrari, the Renault class. But Juhohfin, thanks to Gamefreaker's mistake, will win the Ferrari class. And that is the end of our Classic Invitational tonight. So a bit of Wednesday night entertainment on GamingAlimonda, and it's been absolutely brilliant. So we will get the 4 class winners into the podium, hopefully, as we see our generic green suited goons on the podium. We have no idea who they are, but we know that XJackLacey lifts the trophy as the overall race winner of the Class Invitational and takes the Red Bull class win to boot. But he really had to earn it from Ashbest and Cliffy, who really pushed him hard throughout the race. Cliffy looking good for the most of the race, but just couldn't quite keep ahead of XJackLacey. So then let's confirm our result before going to the podium. XJackLacey then taking the Red Bull victory and overall race win, and then Cliffy and Alice in the end actually getting on the podium in that class. AMS taking the McLaren class victory, and then Bad Boy and Mr. Grumpy making up the podium in the McLaren class. Flyingfrome, outstanding drive from him to take the Renault class victory in 9th, and then John taking the other place, and then Simo no 3rd place because Simo did not finish, unfortunately. And then Juhohfin taking the victory in the Ferrari class ahead of Gamefreaker, sorry, Julian Cascada, whoever that is. So that's 2nd place, and they were one of only 2 Ferraris to finish. So we had a fair amount of retirements, didn't we? We had 7 retirements overall. So I'm going to wait for this to load, and then we are going to... But yeah, I have to say, agree with Connor in the chat. Alice did very well. Right, so bear with me. Just going to invite the people for an interview. Okay. Right then, so we are just awaiting the arrival of our podium, so to speak. And joining us into the chat is the overall race winner of the Classic Invitation tonight and the Red Bull class winner, XJackLacey. A big congratulations, and what a battle that was with Cliffy and Ashbest.
Yeah, it was good fun. Happy to win a race again, because I only won one race on this game, and that's an FP race. So yeah, good to be winning again, I guess. And it was good fun battling Cliffy and Ash. Yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, fantastic. If anyone in the chat can just confirm that you can hear Jack and the others, because for some reason it's coming through my speakers. So Jack, obviously very used to driving the F1 2017 car, so how different is it racing with a car like this, which is so many years behind in terms of development?
Obviously, it's very different. I feel like it's easier to drive in a way. The traction's easier. And I don't know what it's like in obviously the Ferrari or the Mclaren or the Renault, but the handling was really good in the Red Bull. So yeah, it was fun driving a different car.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping we're going to be joined by some other people, so we'll just wait a bit longer. So obviously, compared to F1 2016, Jack, it's been a bit more of a struggle to get the results, but this is obviously a nice sort of win to get.
Yeah, as I said, it's obviously nice to win again. I haven't won in so long, so obviously it's like a league race, not like a league race. It's just a fun race, but it's still nice to get on the top step.
Yeah,
And,
but it must have been quite a buzz when the lights went out and you hear the roar of all those engines, because it's so different to the cars we're used to driving normally.
Yeah, I thought I was just like come out the garage in qualifying. The sound is just so much better. And they need to bring these engines back in real life, but it's not going to happen. But yeah, good.
Excellent. Well, we'll wait a few more moments and then we may have to call it a day if no one else is coming in. So just go through with us, Jack, your sort of favourite moments from the race before we speak to Frome.
I think the overtake on Cliffy for the lead was alright, wasn't it?
Yeah, I switched to it just at the right time, literally, because there was some great battles going on in the sort of midfield of the classes, and then I switched back, and right there you were overtaking. So yeah, it was a outstanding move. But we're going to move on from JackLacey for the time being. Flyingfrome, you are the Renault class winner, and what a great effort to get into the top 10, given that you're in the slowest car.
Cheers. Yeah, that was a bit chaotic, really, because I think myself and Louis were desynced with each other, so we didn't really know where anybody was on track, so it were a little bit crazy, but good fun.
Excellent. So, as I said to JackLacey, what was it like driving these cars compared to, you know, the modern 2017 equivalents?
I think they seem really slow for the first couple of laps, but once you get used to them, I think the handling's quite good. Well, the Renault especially, it just seems quite stable in the corners, so yeah, pretty enjoyable. We should do it more often.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, so I guess I'm not sure if Juho and AMS are going to join us in the end, but I guess the one question I'd ask both of you is, you know, did you enjoy the format, and would you like to do it maybe once a season as a sort of so it doesn't outstay its welcome? In other words,
I'll let Jack answer first.
Well, obviously, you know, we don't make the rules, so we can't decide anything. But I think it went successful this time around, so yeah, why not do it again?
and Frome?
Yeah, I agree, really. Maybe, like you say, we don't want to wear it out, but maybe once or twice a season, just to, you know, it's a little bit different. It's really good fun.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, AMS and Juho, I guess, don't have mics, but a big congratulations to those particular class winners. All the 4 results will be confirmed on PSGL Twitter. So a big thank you to everyone who joined in this event. We got a full turnout, which was fantastic. That's what really made the racing so good tonight. And congratulations to Jack and Frome for winning their classes. And well, we will see you on GamingAlimonda on the next PSGL F1 race on Monday. So as ever, thanks for watching, and see you next time.